America is be true to what you said on paper.
The faith, the devotion, which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. By any means necessary.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Chalkboard Conversations podcast, presented by Party Politics US on Spikefish Radio. I just want to let everyone know that the views of our hosts and guests are their views and do not represent the views of Party Politics US or Spikefish Radio. And with that all said, we're going to get right into a great show this evening. How are my co-hosts doing? I was waiting for you guys to yell out.
Oh, okay. I'm great. I'm good.
You ready for the cue? I mean,
I was ready for the cue.
Y'all just.
I was
y'all
totally
act like
I
y'all
was
just
leaning
saw-
back. I was leaning back. I'm
Y'all
back.
act like you just saw.
You had to do the
act
lean
like you just
forward.
saw-
Yeah, it just
Girl
kind
need to do the lean forward. Lean back. Oh, I'm sorry, lean forward.
You
got me thinking.
Fat Joe's less successful record. Yeah, I got
We're
Y'all
here
are
like
acting
this.
like-
I want to say happy birthday. Birthday.
Oh, look at him.
You're
Look at a
old.
big old smile.
You seen that kind of
Because
smile all the time.
Hey,
You got one of Earl's
Hey, Earl.
Yeah.
Earl, I was about to say, I thought you got caught up on Lowcraft Country, and that's why you had missed last week.
Damn.
For all those of you out there, I want to know who's been watching this show, because this show definitely it has
Facts.
me on edge. What about you guys?
Love it.
Love it.
No.
Love it.
So here's the
It's
thing.
like
I don't like a lot of sci-fi, gore, horror type stuff like that. Like that's not my thing. And so I was really hesitant to start watching it. But man, it the historical pieces, the content, all of that, it makes it worth it.
Big shout out to my friends. Big shout out to my friends Ed and Nicole, who I saw their post, and they were the ones who made me want to watch it. So hopefully, when I'm sharing it, because I know I shared something the other day about it, and it got shared like 33 times. I was like, okay, people are watching that.
So y'all know it's a
watching.
Lovecraft Country podcast that explains all the stuff. And I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm gonna.
I have no idea what y'all talking about. I'm gonna go ahead and be transparent.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Jordan Peele is changing, like the same we did with movies. He's doing with episodic television on HBO. And
Okay.
Yep.
Jordan Peele,
With Jordan Peele, he is next level.
he gave you Get Out. He gave
Which I
us.
still haven't
This
seen
is.
that.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna use that. Because we're gonna come back
We're gonna
in the later
discuss
part
that.
of our
You're not
show.
getting away with that.
Yeah, we're gonna come back in a later part of the show. And Jay, by the time we finish talking about this, you're gonna at least try to carve out 15 minutes to see what the heck we are talking about.
Well, I will promise you
But-
this. You got me with Jordan Peele.
all right.
All right.
Everybody on the team knows that I've been quarantining for what feels like 12 years with mom. My mom has Alzheimer's. She was COVID positive 45 days ago. So a lot of what happens in the world, by the time I keep up with politics and my mama, that's kind of it. But y'all got me with Jordan Peele.
Okay.
I'm a
That's
listen.
all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
That's it.
All right.
all you
With
need.
that,
And Journey
so
Small.
with that said, over in our green room, where we normally would have somebody waiting to get, I guess, makeup and water and juice or whatever other things that would get them ready to come on our show.
Only the blue M&Ms.
We have a Howard alum, cum laude from 1992 and Emory Law School 1996 grad, Miss Fani Willis. And I actually want to call her, hopefully she doesn't take offense to this, Judge Fani Willis. We are very pleased to have her with us this evening. Pleased to have her with us because this is the first time we've had a district attorney elect. She won the election again down in Fulton County against her former boss, Paul Howard. And some of you all may remember Rayshard Brooks was killed by police officers in a parking lot at a fast food restaurant. He was found sleeping in his car, and he was tasered and then killed by police officers. And so this was all happened in Fulton County. So Fulton County for me has been on my radar, but to have Fani with us this evening is an incredible pleasure. Do we have her on? I don't see her yet on our screen. Nyada, you know Fani. You want to tell us a little bit about Fani, something that we may not necessarily hear?
Okay, can I just jump in right before Nyada is serious? I just want to say again that she went to Howard. a little bit. I mean, do we need to say anything else? But go ahead with all the extra fluff. But she's a Howard alum.
I'll throw out. I didn't go to Howard. My dad went to Howard. I have a nephew now who's at Howard.
Jay Smiles went to Howard.
Howard in our family. Jay Smiles went to Howard. And Fani, who's now on our screen with us on our podcast, welcome. It is also went to Howard. So welcome. This is like a Howard party.
Full disclosure, Fani was my roommate in college.
And that's the beginning and the end of the story.
Right. That's what we're going to
Right. Okay. So that experience inspired Fani to become a lawyer after living with Nyada for.
Ooh.
I totally understand it. Attorney prior. Yes, I got it. We understand.
I love it.
So Nyada, I started this off by asking you to tell us something about Fani, and she came in and said you guys were roommates. Maybe we should have been asking her to tell us something about you that we wouldn't know.
Oh no, we good. So Fani, congratulations, my sister. I am.
We'll come back to that. We're gonna come back to that.
Extremely proud of you. This is wonderful for you. It was a long, hard fight. Wonderful for you. Wonderful for the citizens of Fulton County. And I'm so sorry that I missed the celebrations with you, but I'm so proud of you. I really want to say that. I could not be prouder.
Thank you.
And we're so happy that you were able to make time to be with us this evening and talk, because there's a lot of serious things that are going on. I can just tell you right now in Washington, D.C., my phone, I was telling our crew before we came on, has just been blowing up. It's as if the city has been infiltrated. We've got shootings, we've got stabbings, we've got all kinds of disorder that's going on that, in my opinion, feeds right into the narrative that Trump wants to create, that there is social unrest. But the Mayor Muriel Bowser came out today and said that she believes that these are things that are coming from outside the city. Right there in Fulton County, right there in Fulton County, tell us a little bit about Fulton County. What made you want to run? You ran against your former boss. And what are some of the things, not only that you're going to be doing as a district attorney, but some of the things that we as citizens, both in Fulton County and around the country, that we can do to assist our district attorneys with cases and with the unrest and stuff that we're seeing going on?
Well, I would say it's a seat that is often ignored, but I would urge your listeners that I'm sure are coming from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and probably even further than that, but definitely with that core group, that they really need to pay attention to their district attorney seats. I truly believe that your district attorney is probably your most important elected official that's around you. And I say that with all seriousness because a DA is somebody that impacts everyone, probably has impacted every single person that's on here now, because you've either had somebody that you love that was charged with the crime. You want to make sure that that person is compassionate and reasonable when looking at how to charge people. Someone who's been the victim of a felony, or on the other end of that, you've been a witness to something. And so I really think that crime impacts everyone. What you all are going on in DC is not any different than what's going on in Fulton County. I told my sister Nyada today on the phone, we got problems here down in Fulton County. Our murder rates so Fulton County comprises 15 cities. Everyone knows Atlanta, but Atlanta is really just one of the cities that I serve. I have 14 other cities. Atlanta is the biggest, but the others combined are, much bigger than Atlanta. Atlanta comprises about 500,000 people. The other cities, if you combine them, are about another 700,000. And so it's a county of 1,200,000. It literally it stretches so far, it's a ridiculously gerrymandered, drawn county. And so it stretches from south to north, It has a lot of African Americans, but a lot of Caucasians, a lot of Republicans, a lot of Democrats. Up in the north part of my county, you know, you got rich folks that are non-minorities that own a bunch of houses and stables. And, you know, when I'm talking about really nice houses with really nice stables, and then you have very inner city. Then you have some very, you know, affluent African Americans that live here, and some poverty-stricken areas. So we really have everything. We are like DC, then a little bit of Prince George's and a little bit of Montgomery, all in one county. And so my population that I serve is really everyone. As I said, our murders are up. I agree with your mayor, and I know from briefings that there are people that are trying to peacefully protest. And there are agitators from outside that are coming in to make what should be protests that we all respect violent. And honestly, a lot of times they don't look like me and they don't look like you, but they see an opportunity to cause chaos. And that is wrong no matter what they look like. But that is bringing a sense of people aren't paying attention to what the real message is when it gets distracted with the message that the agitators are trying to send. So we're seeing that all over the country. Crime is up all over the country. And part of that is what's going on with the social unrest. But it's more like we're in COVID, people money not right, people are frustrated, agitated. We are really in a stirred pot right now. And so you can expect to see this. And it is another reason you need to pay attention to your DA.
Thank you.
Yeah, Janae, Jay Smiles, you want to get in here?
Yes, I would like to. So first of all, I would like to hear your thoughts on being an African American woman who's a prosecutor. Let's just go there. Our current, okay, I'm a Democrat. Let me just go ahead and say that. I am a registered voting Democrat. I will absolutely be voting for the Biden-Harris ticket. I'm gonna say that.
Let's be clear. All right.
I want to go ahead and be clear. I'm transparent with mine. So, but historically, there has been a lot of backlash within the African-American community, within people of color, period. There's been a double-edged sword for being a prosecutor if you're a person of color. To be real clear, like, hey, you working for the po-pos, you with the feds, how you gonna lock us up? Now, I am also a lawyer. I understand and appreciate having someone like you, someone like Senator, Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris on the other side, making those negotiations, deciding who's going to be even accused. Because y'all can make a negotiation where maybe Big Mike maybe we don't even serve him no papers. Okay. But I would like to hear from your vantage point. Being a Black woman, what made you say, you know what? I'm going to pick up this mantle and I'm going to be a prosecutor?
Let's talk about what you just said so that your viewers really understand it. In the United States of America, 1% of all elected prosecutors is an African-American woman. 1%.
Whoa. I need you to say that one more time for me, DA.
So
that hurts.
I joined a very elite class of people because we only represent 1%. Now, everybody on this podcast and everyone listening has appreciation for more than 1% of people that look like you are going to be wrapped up in some way in the criminal justice system. And I don't just mean as a charged person. They're going to be a victim to violent crime. They're going to be a witness to something that is traumatic on them for the rest of their lives. And we have got to have people of color that represent us. I actually have been both a defense attorney, judge, and now I am the elected DA for my county.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to pause, and I want a Black girl, magic sister girl, finger snap, which might not be appropriate. You don't have to do it, but I can do it for you. Okay.
I don't have to do it. I'm still a sister all day long.
Okay, girl. What? You better look. I need a shirt. I need a shirt. Now, you gotta get me a shirt or something that say whatever her shirt say. Anyway, I'm about to wear that shirt. Okay, continue.
Okay.
So I really think that you need people and elected officials that can balance to each side. I mean, right now, just coming off of being a defense attorney, I can tell you one of my biggest cases was I had an African-American young man in the airport. He had $155,000 in cash on him, and the police clearly racially profiled him, and they took his money. Although my client in that particular case was a professional gambler, he was extremely successful, and he was on his way to do what is his business for the week, which is go to Vegas. He did things he didn't even have to do. They called the casino and they said 155, this man might make $500,000 here for 2 days. He's this kind of gambler. Explained everything, did more than he ever had to do. And they still took every dime. And I fought the state for a year and a half. And, you know, we got every penny back. But you want an elected official who's been on the other side of that, that has seen, okay, wait a minute, when police are coming and they're forfeiting people's money, I need to look behind the curtain. Now, we're going to take a lot of money. We sure are, because it's going to be illegal proceeds. But those that I can look in the file and say, the only reason you stop this person is because they are a minority, you need people with those experiences. Or what about the people that I represent that are charged with murder? When I go to the prisons, I have unique experiences. I look around those prisons. I recognize that too many of them are of color. We're going to consider that when we're making charging decisions. What about something else you said, which is so powerful? The power of a prosecutor is to charge, but it's also not to charge. And so one of the platforms that I ran on is that I intend to do something that we don't have here in what is the biggest, the richest, and the most populous county in the state of Georgia. And I truly believe that the policies that I enact are going to be policies that in fact impact not just Georgia, but the entire Southeast. I often tell people I will have the best district attorney's office between Washington, D.C. and Miami, and the entire country will look to DA Willis to determine how to do things. But one of the things that we are going to do is we're going to create a diversion program, which is a program where people will do community service, where they will get jobs, where they will give back restitution to victims if they hurt them, where they will do a lot of things. But at the end of the completion of that diversion program, we're not going to give them the scarlet letter of an indictment. Now, am I going to do that for a murderer? Absolutely not. A rapist? No, indeedy. A child molester? No. But we have some other much less serious crimes where we are marking people for their entire life. I have college-age kids. You got that indictment? You can't get your student loans. You can't get a job. I have actually already been using my bully pulpit. I've gotten the Carpenters Union to say, hey, we will take some of your people, we will train them, we will pay them $14 an hour, and if they complete this 160 hours, we'll make sure they make a lot more money than 160, and they'll have a job. As I told my daughters, it won't just be those men that I'm impacting or those women that came through there with that little mistake. It's going to be their family and the sense of pride it can give you when you can provide. But you know, for a sister, that turned on a light bulb. Oh, damn, if I can get the carpenters to do it, what about the truckers? What about the computer scientists? What about all these law offices in town? So I'm requiring community buy-in to accomplish the goals, because don't just look at me or whoever your local DA is and say, oh, y'all got to fix it and solve it. How about y'all get to the table and fix and solve some stuff with us? I am tired of hearing people just complain and not being willing to put in the work. And so I'm shaming folks. I don't make no bones about it.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. Hey, Patrick.
Come help me solve it.
Patrick, I want to know, you got a question?
Well, I mean, Fani, I'm a big fan, and you know,
quick question, Patrick, because we got to.
Wait a minute, can I jump in real quick, because
Y'all didn't get it out when y'all lived together? Wait, what?
About her. It's about your answer a little bit. So you challenge the people to do. So obviously one of the big issues that we have is police brutality. What do you say to constituents on how they can combat police brutality? I mean, we're out here protesting, but protesting doesn't really get it done. What would you say to your constituents on combating police brutality?
Well, I have to tell you, I say two things. One thing is I am annoyed with just protesting and nothing more than that. And let me tell you why. The NBA has been really big in doing things, and I think that's amazing, because you can use your bully pulpit and your fame to bring attention. But then you read stuff like 85% of them aren't registered to vote. Okay, wait a minute. The mayor appoints the police chief, and the police chief does the policies for his department. So don't talk to me about taking a knee if you're not going to the polls and taking a vote and voting in people that support your policies. And so protesting is fine as long as you do it non-violently. You don't destroy your own daggone community by tearing stuff up. But what about after the protest? So the first thing I encourage people to do is to get your butt registered to vote and then to go vote. The second thing I asked them to do is come to the table. Have conversations with the people that can make a difference. Write letters to the police chief, because I mean, the protest is over, nobody is thinking about it. But things in writing that make people afraid, they are going to be things that have impact. What I am doing as the newly elected DA is I have made it very well known. I am now doing a nationwide search. I'm looking for the baddest lawyer I could find that will head up what I am going to call my anti-corruption unit, which is not just to deal with issues of police, but also to deal with issues of corrupt politicians. And so that unit right now, I'm walking into an office where I have 48 cases that involve police brutality, or allegations of police brutality, I should say. I have 130 when you take the dead people at the jail and we ain't got no explanation for why they're dead, and more when you talk about the just corruption of politicians. But I don't want someone with agenda. If you hate police, I'm not looking for you. But if you think that you're just going to defend the police, I'm also not looking for you. I need someone who will come in, who will read the evidence, who will look at the facts, who will look at the policies of the police to make sure that they didn't do it. Because this is the reality. Arrests don't look pretty. Arrests with resist do not look pretty. That is not the standard. The standard is, did they do something that is illegal and violated someone's rights? And if they did that, they are going to be prosecuted, but they're only going to be prosecuted after the procedures are followed.
Okay. Hey, Patrick, quick question.
Fani, big fan. I just want to say is that there's something that comes from a woman with your strength and power, and that's their family. So when did you first fall in love with the law?
Oh my God.
Brown sugar with it. You went brown sugar with it.
I told him you have a really cute story.
It's a good one, brown sugar.
Yeah, you went brown sugar with it. Okay.
I've never wanted to, I'm living my dream. I am literally living my dream. I've never wanted to be anything but a lawyer. I was raised by a single parent, my daddy. And as a very little girl, at 7 years old, as a single parent, on Saturdays, he would go to pick up cases, which would mean what? He'd go to the courthouse, and everyone that got locked up on Friday night, he would defend. And so while he would go into lockup and talk to his clients, I would go sit on the bench with this old white Irish judge, and he would whisper in my ear, should they go home or should they go to the back? And so one day my father said, what is he saying? I said, he asked me, should they go home? And guess what? I'm going to be a judge. And he's like, well, to be a judge, you got to be a lawyer. And I said, well, what do lawyers do? And he said, at 7, how do I explain to them? He said, well, they read and they explain things. And I said, well, I know how to read, so I'm going to be a lawyer. And the rest is history. I've never wanted to do anything else. I had the opportunity to be the chief judge for my city, the city of South Fulton. But my community, for a lot of reasons that won't interest a lot of your listeners, we had a DA that was definitely had some problems, had put his own interest before the interest of community. And every now and then God calls you to do something. And so I'm on his journey, and I plan to serve my community well.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
Awesome.
Earl.
Hey, Atiba, I'm actually I'm looking at the time. Let's go ahead and keep the conversation going. I feel like she's already
Okay. Well, we're gonna wrap this one. We're gonna wrap our conversation up. But I want to kind of hit on a couple of things that you said, Fani. 1% of all elected prosecutors is an African American woman, and so to our viewers out there, we've got to do a better job. We've got to not only ask people or find people who will run for these positions, but we've got to vote. I mean, when you talk about 85% of NBA players are not registered to vote, you know, I agree with you. I mean, we've got to hold our sports players accountable. Actually, we have to hold each other accountable, because voting, this election is about protecting the integrity of our democracy. And we can't just go out and march and beg and say something. We've got to go out there, in my opinion, win elections, and then keep the pressure on to make sure that those people that we elect go and do the work that we've asked them to do, or that we've elected them to do. So, and thank you so much for sharing that story about the 150K with the gentleman. I mean, I've heard so many stories, seen so many stories. In fact, the Washington Post a few years ago ran some stories about these seizures of cash and large amounts of money that they take, and that people never get the money back. I don't know if anybody else has anything really quick to say. We've got our other guests waiting, but Fani, we would love to have you back. It always feels as if we don't have enough time for these discussions, but love your passion. Thank you so much for your courage to step forward and to run for office.
Well, I appreciate you all. I appreciate the support. And you all have like a quick line to me. So she'll threaten me if I don't come back. So you can count on me to be back.
Sound like some Polaroids are involved. Okay.
Right.
Mr. G photos. Mr. G.
It wasn't me though. It wasn't me.
I know that's right. I know that's right, Bison.
I am going to take a point of privilege, though, because I'd be remiss, and later I would think I should have asked. Real quick, could you just tell us about the Rayshard Brooks case, and is there anything that we can be doing to make noise to make sure that it's prosecuted in a fair and just way?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that case is already spider bitten. A lot of things that people saw in the community, even you, that drew your attention to it, were completely inappropriate in the law. Jay Smiles will probably be the one that appreciates this the most, because I've looked at not only the code of ethics that is for Georgia, but it seems to mimic the national code as well. Prosecutors nor lawyers, period, can do what I call the show, which is what was done with that case. You all would not be aware of this, but the district attorney actually used that case in his television ads. I have never seen anything like it in my life. Also used it in his radio ads.
Desperation.
As a result of him doing that, I believe, and the defense has already filed for that office to be recused. What I believe is going to happen with that case is another jurisdiction, meaning Fulton County will pay the bill, but it will be citizens from another jurisdiction that will actually get to decide that. And I'll just tell you, Atlanta and Georgia, they ain't the same thing. I think that a real disservice has been done. I also think, I'll be honest with you, I'm here to be fair. I think that he should have followed the process. I would have, in an abundance of caution, I would have waited for the GBI to finish their report. After I did that, I would have had my own investigators go out. People are confused. They think when you say that means you're not going to charge unless the GBI tells you to charge. That is not even the GBI's responsibility. All they are to do is a data collector. But when you don't do data collection in the right way, which is to let them do their process and then have your own investigators do the process and make a decision, then everything you do gets questioned. I told people during the campaign, we can't even discuss whether this was a political decision anymore. When I got a DA sitting with Jamarian Robinson, which is not a case you all know, but it's one I know, where I got somebody where the police shot at him 101 times. They struck his body 76 times. And maybe they did so rightfully, because I don't have all the evidence, but his mama been waiting since August of 2016 for a decision. I got cases with police brutality from 2014, 2017. If you can't do it when the cameras is off, don't do it when the cameras are on. And so, as my kids would say, I think he was just stunting for the gram. In doing that, I think he screwed that case up. And I think that we have problems going forward. And I think that is a travesty, because you use the pain of the Brooks family. I have lost somebody to murder. People that I love, not one person, but many people, some family. And to use the pain of the victim's family for your own political advancement is disgusting to me. And the voters in my community rejected him outright. And I walked away with 72% of the vote. And it's because Black people know what pandering looks like, and that's all it was.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Fani, thank you so very much for joining us. We look forward to having you back again, and we wish you all the best. And just listening to you, it's clear why you were able to garner 72% of the vote.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bison.
Thank you.
And you know
Wow.
I love my Bisons. I'm a Democrat too, and I'm on Kamala Harris's. I'm the lead for law enforcement for Georgia, as well as Black women for Georgia. So Bisons be doing it, girl.
Yes. Okay. So Nayada, you got to make sure whatever she needs from somebody in Georgia,
Yeah, because we need Georgia. We need Georgia in the win column on November 3rd.
We should.
Yes, we do.
Thank y'all.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
All right. Thank you, Fani. Wow, guys, that was heavy. Wow.
It's a more show, right? We got to still keep.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
forward to the rest of our guests, but that is very exciting, and I'm so happy that she shared that out loud with our entire audience and with our team, because what this means is we need to be ready for the Rayshard Brooks, because when they move jurisdictions, we got to put the pressure on them to not let it slide.
Yeah, we've got to also realize, and we were talking about this in pre-production, that, you know, we hear a lot, and this is a kind of lead into our next guest, because we got a Republican and a Democrat that who work together, who are principals in the same firm. But we've got to be looking at how we address our message, because our message right now seems to be all over the place. And when I say our, I'm talking about from a whole country standpoint in terms of what's in the best interest for the entire country. With that all said, Betty, are we have Christina and Mark?
Yep, they're here.
Hey, Christina.
Hello, how are you? It's nice to be here today.
It's great to have you. Do we have Mark with us too?
Yep, I'm on.
Hey,
I feel
Mark,
like
how are you?
I wish y'all could have put us on before her. She was awesome.
I know. I feel like that's a hard act to follow.
It is, but I think you guys are a hard act to take too, because I've been watching you all's videos, and I shared it with my co-host. The 3 videos that you all did, and I encourage folks, if you haven't seen it, look on Chalkboard Conversations podcast for Ferox strategies videos. Mark and Christina did 3, one on their House races, one on the Senate races, and one on the presidential races. And I think, you know, I have my viewpoints. I'm sure my co-hosts have theirs, but we want to get into like what you all's thinking are. You work on the Hill. You know, how did you all get, first off, how do you all coexist? Because this is a very polarizing political environment that we're living in.
You know, I'll take the lead on that one. I started Ferox about 3 years ago. I was at another firm that was larger for a decade before that, and we were bipartisan. And I missed having kind of the camaraderie of being able to bounce ideas off, because the way this town works is you got to count votes, and you got to get 218 to get anything done on the House side, and you got to get to 60 to get anything done on the Senate side. And that means you got to be able to have a message and be able to talk to folks on both sides and convince them of your case. And so the same way that you have, you know, a prosecutor or a district attorney trying to make her case, we have to make the case whenever we go up to the Capitol Hill, and that means you got to convince as many people as possible. You know, but I don't think I found a crazy Republican. I found one that I could get along with, and I thought, one, he's doing the happy stuff, so kind of sometimes he's crazy, sometimes I got to rein him back in. But you know, we're both from Texas. We had some of that kind of going for us. We both have similar kind of life experiences. And I think that actually a lot of times we find ourselves both kind of in that middle lane with some things that take us left or right, but we agree on a lot of policies. And I think most important to all of it is we're able to talk to each other and kind of figure out where we agree. And then whenever we find a place where we don't agree, we're like, okay, well, we'll put that one in the parking lot and we'll move on.
Mark?
Yeah, no, I agree with Christina. Like I consider myself kind of right of center, and I always enjoyed kind of playing that part up on the Hill where I spent 15 years. But like one of the most, you know, fun parts of my day is getting in a banter back and forth on our call first thing in the morning. And sometimes I throw Republican stuff out there just to get under her skin, because I know that it will.
It does.
But I mean,
Christina, should we get under Mark's skin? Because
Mark,
you're in a hot room right now. I mean, you're a Republican. I'm gonna throw it out here. Look, I'm gonna set the stage. First off, I'll just tell you. First, Mark, I was a registered Republican up until The Apprentice won the last race in 2016.
You're not alone.
And the reason why I left the party was because I felt like it has left a lot of people behind. I've never been a straight party person. I've always felt like I wanted to elect or vote for the whoever I think was the best candidates. But I got to ask, you know, are you a Trump supporter? Do you think that he's going to win this election? And if so, why do you think that he's going to win this? And then, Christina, I'd love for you to talk to us. Tell us what you're seeing from the Democratic side, and then I want my co-host to get in and ask you guys some questions.
I think you're not alone in that, man. You know, you've seen some Republicans leave the party, but you've seen some Democrats leave as well. I think what you're seeing right now is both parties moving kind of to the outside edges, and that's, you know, that's scary for me, especially with someone who considers himself kind of right down the middle. But look, I voted for Trump in the last election. I've always been a registered Republican. I will continue to be. It's tough right now. I think it's tough for everyone right now. You know, as you think of kind of how this next election is going, I think Democrats are kind of measuring the curtains right now. And I saw it 4 years ago. And, you know, you see some of the polling shifting even in the last couple of days. And what I tell everyone, and it's this, we will not see a bigger turnout than we've ever seen in our lifetime when we will this election. I think both sides are going to turn out. I think that's important for our country. Like, let the chips fall where they may. As long as people are registering and getting out, then what happens.
Dana, what are you saying?
You know, I think from my perspective, you know, it was funny. He and I did a presentation back in February where we had to make our predictions to a big room full of people. And as a Democrat, I had to say at that time, I was like, I think Trump wins re-election. It was my biggest fear. Honestly, I think he's destroying our country from my own point of view. And but I had to, like, realistically say, in terms of politics, that I did think that Trump would win re-election. Now, that was before the pandemic. And I think the pandemic is the one thing that has really been the thing to crystallize and demonstrate a failure of leadership from the White House. I think everything else, everybody could find excuses for, sweep under the rug, be okay with, or forgive, just as long as they were getting the thing that they cared about most. And if that was a tax break, or if that was the courts, if that was whatever it was that was making them happy, they could look past everything else. But, you know, watching almost 200,000 people die when they didn't need to, I think that's a whole different kind of story and a different kind of ball game. And I think that is the one thing now that has moved me and my thinking on the politics. And obviously I've been watching the polling. I'm with Mark. I don't want to pre-measure the drapes. We get too excited as Democrats and we start believing things that we shouldn't be believing yet. We drink Kool-Aid and we get too comfortable and we stop working and we don't run through the tape. And that's always our problem. So I don't want to make that mistake again. This dude knows how to pull it out, and he's working hard, and he's going to find votes in places where we never even thought they were. And he's, you know, I mean, he was on the stump today telling people to go vote twice. I mean, he's encouraging the voter fraud that he says is the biggest problem. Why we should allow the absentee votes. But, you know, that's the part that's concerning to me. And I got to make sure that the Democrats keep working.
I like that. That was good.
Earl, you got a question?
Oh, a couple of things. Mark first mentioned what I've recognized, which is the polarization has gotten such that both sides of the aisle aren't very recognizable to the functional members of either party. You know, it's one thing to say, hey, I think everybody should be treated fairly in a certain way under the law. I don't know if I'm agreeing with a blank check and what the government can pay for, which is what the far left seems to be looking for. And on the far right, we see the opposite. We see the, hey, I really could care less about anything else. Are you going to lower my taxes? My taxes, can you lower those? Hey, did you know there are people who are getting shot? Yeah. Can we get to that after we deal with my taxes? Because that's the one thing I'm watching. Now, if you're watching both parties do that in real time, and you both understand the power of the media, how much do you feel your parties are getting pushed in the direction that you're being pushed by people who want to cover the story a certain way versus the amount of policy you're able to shift to actually do the job? And I'll let you two decide who answers first, but I'm going to need an answer from both of you.
I'm going to let Mark go first. He loves this media question.
Well, it's 100% true. Look, like I said, I spent 15 years on the Hill, and I saw the genesis of this with social media and cable media outlets. And so I saw, when I started up on the Hill, you know, you had some vitriol, and you had, you know, just a few kind of crazies that would get, you know, ginned up. But as, you know, people started existing in their own echo chambers, it started to get crazier and crazier. First you saw it on the right, now you're seeing it on the left. And when people are getting their news information from, you know, only the sources that they want, and they're only conversing with the people that think just like them, then you don't have any kind of difference in ideas. And I think that's bad for everyone.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, Christina. Earl wanted Christina to answer.
I wanted to get Christina's answer. I had a follow-up, but by all means, jump in before I do, Patrick, afterwards. But Christina.
No, I was just going to say, is I started on the Hill in 1994, and I was there for the first 100 days of the new Gingrich administration. and leadership. And one of the things that was funny is that we began to subdivide at that point, and the whole exercise of being bipartisan all went away. And we're 6 years later from the contract with America, and we're at this particular point. And the thing that concerns me is the staffs no longer know how to work together. You no longer have a delegation-led effort to achieve things for. And one of the things that I always kind of go back to is that I'm afraid that no one is developing their voice from the Senate side, especially when it comes to taking on the president on very basic issues that are going to affect Americans for a long time to come. I could go back to December 2017 and we could talk about the tax bill that has to be redone because we've got to go through a policy renaissance. It's going to take a bipartisan effort. So we'd love to hear your top 3 things that we need to rewrite to get America back on track after the pandemic.
Hold on, before we do that though, I still want to get my answer to my question.
Yeah, so your immediate question, actually, I was going to start it, but he just brings up a good point, because the point that I wanted to make is that Republicans are so amazing at messaging and Democrats are not. Democrats get all cerebral and they want to explain things and they want to, talk it through and have this policy conversation, whereas Republicans are so very good at boiling something down to very crisp, clear messages in bite-sized chunks that people can digest. And it started with Newt Gingrich with the contract for America, as a matter of fact. And what he did is he got all of those Republicans that were on the trail and he sent them all cassette tapes. Back in the day, it was cassette tapes, if y'all remember those. And he's like, here's what we're all going to say, and we're all going to say the same thing at the same time. And these are the 6 points everybody's going to say over and over and over and over and over again. And they all listened to it, and they all got on TV, and they all said the same 6 things. And they were like, oh, there's unison. And Republicans are still amazing at it. And now they're just better at it because they do it electronically. And they all, every single morning, wake up and they all get in their inboxes. Here's today's talking points. And that's why when you tune into TV and there's a Republican talking head on one channel and a different channel and 6 other shows all day long, they all say the exact same thing. It's because they are all in lockstep and unison. And Democrats can't get out of their own way to do the same damn thing, even though we've been listening to Republicans do it since Newt Gingrich.
But I actually have an... Oh, go ahead, Atiba.
No, go ahead, Earl. Go ahead.
Because Atiba and I discuss this exact topic all the time, and what I would say in response, or at least in one insight I think I'm absorbing out of the situation, is that the reasons why Reagan, Lee Atwater's, Pat Robertson pulled to the right that happened in the early 80s, the reason why that was probably one of the shrewdest political decisions that's ever happened is that by grabbing a faith-based community, you do get the benefit of just giving people a simple sentence and then pulling them by the nose with it. I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but at the same time, you can literally do it from suggestion, because it's a group of people who are looking for suggestion. They don't want to get into the details. They want a simple path and they want to get there. If you're going to find an atheist or somebody who's going to find a way that's, if you ever wanted to find somebody who can find a different way of going vegan than anybody else had already gone vegan, as if you can do that differently, it would be a Democrat. And it would be somebody who's going to overthink it. They don't want a simple answer. They're going to gravitate to where the complexity is, because that's who we are in this particular generation. So as a result, we can't use the same tactics because you're not trying to catch the same fish.
And it's funny you bring it up. I keep going back to old Saturday Night Live clips, and I've been sharing them on social media because it's like brilliant. And today I was watching one. Today I was watching one with George Bush, the father, George H.W. Bush, and Michael Dukakis. And it's so funny because what's his name? Lovitz says, "How am I losing to this guy?" Yes. I mean, and it was because when you listen to Mike Dukakis back in the day, he just went way long with his answers. If he had just got in and got out, he probably would have won. And then there was another one that showed the father Bush with the son Bush, and basically talking about how you get in, you get out, son. You way, you go over here, you get out. And that's the problem that I keep seeing with Democrats. Even right now, it's like, how the hell, sorry, Mark, how the hell are you going to lose this one to The Apprentice? Like, seriously, like, why are we even having the conversation that you could lose this one? And it's because there's no message and everything's all over the place. Go ahead, Earl.
I was going to say, well, the guy who got fired as his show got canceled when he was The Apprentice. But if I had to focus my attention on anything, but with you're trying to catch different fish. You're going to need different bait. The messaging won't work the same way. You can't grab a group of Democrats with a simple catchphrase and let's get on the same team, because if you could, they wouldn't be Democrats. And I'm not going to ask you to give away any necessary strategy, but please tell me the Democratic Party is actually, if we've learned how to do anything, can we at least start doing the indoctrination that they think that we're doing already? Like, if it takes a level of
but here's the thing, like, yeah, they're doing it, but you know who's doing it is it's the squads that's doing it. And I don't, the same way I kind of describe Mark as not being a crazy Republican, I'm not on the left fringes of my party either. I'm in the center as well. And and most of the party is as well, at least the elected party. Like there are 103 new Democrats. New Democrats are the pragmatic center that are business friendly, who know you can't have labor rights if you don't have jobs. And so you don't get jobs unless you have employers. And so there's this whole center of the party. And that's where Mark and I can agree. Like, okay, we all agree we need to have some jobs here. Some businesses need to be here in order for there to be jobs, for you to get all these benefits that you say you want, and you want to get a pay increase or a living wage or all these other things. I was like, but the squad is the one that now has figured out how to talk to that side of the party and indoctrinate young folks and make it exciting and enthusiastic, something to grab onto. And instead of like it being my taxes or the court, they're saying it's the environment or it's this, and give them that to hang on to and be like, I'm the only one that's going to help you fix the environment. And so you should be with me at all costs. And so to some extent, yes, I think that's helping the Democrats in large measure with the bringing the young folks along and bringing folks that are excited about that. But in another way, it's pulling us to the left the same way you're saying, Earl, and that, so then how do we meet in the center with the Republicans to be able to pass the rest of policy that matters to all of us?
Well, Democrats went through exactly what Republicans went through 10 years ago with the Tea Party, right? With the move to the left. And so like it's just growing pains and will continue for some time.
Mark, Jay Smiles, you got anything? Jay,
I do. First, so I'm the comedian on the panel, just so that Christina and Mark know, so that if it has a little extra levity, it's on purpose. That's what I bring to the team. Right. So when you all both said you were from Texas, I'm like, of course but I mean, Texas, it's its own planet. Okay, so there will be some things you all agree on that the rest of the nation will never understand. Okay, so that's something that you all have, that's some kind of vibranium kryptonite thing all mixed up. And I would just like to say, please don't use it against the rest of us, okay? Because it really is some kind of holy grail thing that we'll never quite.
We already tried to secede, and that didn't work for us. So we're stuck with you.
At least you all realize it doesn't succeed, where some other people still carry that Confederate flag. And I'm like, you can't. Okay, this is a little bit of an aside, but what gets me with the people who still really hardcore march with the Confederate flag and want the gun rights, I'm like, the gun rights are with the Second Amendment, with the United States Constitution. So if you really want the Constitution to protect you, then you can't use the Confederate flag, because the Confederate flag does not get protected by the Constitution. Those don't go together. Pick one, dude. I need you to pick one. If you're with the Confederate, then you ain't got no rights over here. So whatever. Anyway, I digress.
And they were traitors. Like
total traitors.
Just FYI, like they were
treason. We should dump them all in the ocean, right? No? Okay. Whatever. They were at least worse than the WikiLeaks dude, right? They're worse than the WikiLeaks dude.
To the Capitol Hill Club, where all the Republicans are going to hang out. You can't have him on record saying all this stuff.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I like Mark. Mark is my kind of Republican. Anyway, I might be friends with some Republicans offline. I can't say it too loud, but I like all people. But my question to you all, at least my part of the conversation, is to say, I totally like the point that Earl made around, at heart, Democrats and Republicans are different. So the bait that you need is a tad different. I really would like Democrats. I'm not saying that it needs to be Joe Biden, but I want someone to attack Trump the way he attacks Democrats. Like, I know that generally speaking, Democrats like to go high, but who is going to be our sleazy person? I would like us to have the sleazy, crazy uncle. Maybe he's just a lower person. When I say lower, I mean lower. Maybe he's a state rep. I mean, it's like it's not Kamala or Joe Biden. right? But it's someone else who, because think about this. Trump started all of his rhetoric when he wasn't even he wasn't running for anything. When he started the birth of stuff, he wasn't even on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
Hey Jay, if you got cab fare, I got a tie in the car. If you tell me where to meet Trump,
listen,
I will be that flamethrower.
I'm just thinking that we need someone.
I have a tie in the car. I can make that happen tonight.
I would like. I'm really for it. So I'm just depositing that we purposely get someone who is articulate enough to just hammer down. Like,
I think who that is for you is actually not even a Democrat. I think it's the Lincoln Project, and it's all of these Republicans that were like, not my, this isn't my party. This isn't what I recognize. And you see all of them now banding together and creating the. Mark's shaking his head because he's like, no, those guys are traitors. They don't count. But like, you're hearing.
Yeah, but I think the Democrats need to maybe a little bit bolster one, because you know how I'm just saying Trump became one voice. He wasn't really doing it on behalf of the Republican Party because he was kind of independent. Nobody knew what he was, but he was creating a diversion and causing a distraction. So I'm just saying, we identify one. Yeah. Maybe he's from like Kansas, whoever. Maybe it's a woman who just sends out some tweets, but it's one person who just becomes the fan favorite. Maybe she's a kooky person. I'm just throwing it out there.
I think you're right with Koki.
Nayada, do you have a question?
So yeah, I mean, to that end about Trump being the one voice, Mark, my question is for you. So do you really, and when I say you, I mean, okay, moderate Republicans, do you really believe that Trump is Republican? I mean, I get that he's your guy, but do you really feel in your heart of hearts that he's, I mean, you follow party line, you do the talking points, but do you really feel like he's a Republican?
In some ways, yes. Some ways, no. Right. But I think when he's put up against Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, he absolutely is. Right. Like, what are my alternatives? My alternatives are Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden. Right. So, he's clearly the Republican of that choice.
Okay, I want to get Patrick back in here because I know you had a question. Then we're gonna, and then Earl, and then we're gonna wrap up.
Hey, Mark, you used the M word, and I thought you were referencing the M in your name. You said moderate, and the one thing I remember were congressmen like Steve LaTourette and some others who were very moderate and who had certain things that they believed in and invested in. The reemergence of a moderate Republican coming back to the forefront of the discussion, if Biden-Harris does win, and if the numbers in the House get to the point where you got to work together to get some things done.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. The way that the primary system is set up, I have a hard time seeing moderates. So look, a lot of it has to do how congressional districts are set up, right? Like the way that they're drawn really, really red and really, really blue. And there's probably about 15 that are purple. And that's where the moderate exists, in that 15. And so you're going to see the red districts get redder, and you're going to see the blue districts get bluer, and those purple ones are going to fade away.
Right, Earl. And that's one of the things that's missing right now, because at least in the Reagan era, we had Reagan Democrats, and I don't know Democrats or whatever. The voice is missing right now in terms of someone who is willing to work with the other side to get some stuff done.
Okay, Earl.
No, first off, I want to say
quick question.
Okay, my quick question to both of you. My final follow-up. You guys are both moderate. What is one thing you honestly believe you could get done easier with a member of the opposite party than you could with your own party?
Ooh. Immigration reform.
Immigration reform?
Immigration reform.
Like the way you see it going, it seems as though, okay. Well, if that's the case, why don't you vote? Okay, we'll discuss that later.
No,
okay,
I mean, look, that was one of the things that I worked really long and hard on, and on the Hill, right? And behind the scenes, we had huge bipartisan agreements on a lot of stuff. But then the Obama administration, Nancy Pelosi, sunk it because they thought they had a better deal in the Senate. But I worked really, really well and saw really eye to eye with Democrat colleagues on that.
That's a good one, Christina.
I would have said tax reform, but they already did it now, and they beat me to the punch. And so, when they controlled all three chambers, the House, the Senate, and the White House there for 10 minutes, they acted quickly and they got it done. And you know, I don't know that I needed to go down to a corporate tax rate of 21%, but, you know, I think that there was interest, there was a lot of interest in finding some reforms and bringing down taxes to some extent. And I think they did it. They got there too. They went dramatically further than I would have gone. In fact, that's how successful they were with it.
Yeah, so I would take a point of.
Go ahead, I was just going to say, I was trained that that's what you use to start pitching to the opposite side. You start with those particular policy items. So when you find those are the ones that you find, you vibrate on that frequency, and then that's how you try to pull people to your side of the fence. Go ahead, Atiba.
So I love this. I love this conversation. I love the fact that, you know, both of you, you know, work together. This is what you all do, and we definitely would love to have you all back. Normally we do a lightning round, and we do that after this, but we have one more guest. But I want you guys to stay in for this lightning round question.
Okay, but one second. Can I ask one question of them?
We're going to tee it up with a video that we're going to show later, but I'm going to ask this, and it's a tough question. And sorry, Mark, it puts you in a hot seat, but this is a lightning round question. Will there be another indictment before November of someone from the president's team?
No.
So whoever wants to go first.
I don't know who.
Nobody wants to take that one?
Yes.
Can I jump in?
No.
Yes, you can.
I think absolutely.
Yes or no?
The next indictment is going to come from the state of New York. I still
Yes.
think,
Jason Miles says yes.
Yes.
September, October surprise. I think a lot of that back and forth, a lot of the administrative side that constitutes some type of fraud is going to really kind of be something that was supposed to be a Mueller back to the state of New York. And it's going to be fascinating to see how that's prosecuted and regarded, because they're very aggressive with fraud crimes in New York. So I think that's the next one. It's going to be at the state level. It's going to open up a can of worms that it's going to be hard to unpack.
I agree with that too. Yeah, so I would agree with that too. I think that the Southern District there is uber aggressive. They've been following this for a long time. I wouldn't be completely shocked if there was a Trump name attached to that. Which Trump, I'm not sure, but part of that, there are a lot of them in the family charity that got wrapped up in a lot of the tax fraud and things like that. So that could be part of it too. I also don't think the Flynn case is done yet, right? The courts are trying to find a way to keep themselves in it because they know he lied. They know he lied under oath, and they don't want to let that go, and they don't want it to just be to be done with. So I can imagine that that's going to continue on throughout the election as well.
Maybe the pick committee here in DC.
What's that?
The inaugural committee. The fraud.
Oh, okay. All right.
That might happen.
Jay Smiles.
I say yes, there will be an indictment.
Earl.
Yeah, there will be one, but I think it'll be at the last minute. I think it'll be like the first or second, and it won't matter.
Mark.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
Not gonna happen.
I think you'll lose,
right.
but I don't think it'll matter.
Christina and Mark, we want to thank you all so much for joining us, and hopefully you all will be open to coming back again and doing this. We are very ambitious. We want to have like these great conversations, and then they end up taking and going longer than we planned them to. But that's because I think a good sign of a good conversation. So thank you all. I really wanted to get into like some of the House and the Senate stuff. So if we can get you all back in a few weeks, we'd love to delve into more in terms of what's going on in the House and the Senate seats, because this is going to be if everything holds true to what you were saying, Mark, that voter turnout is going to be extremely high. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, not just in the congressional races, but also in the state and local races.
Yeah,
no,
totally
I think
agree.
that's right. Thank you for having us. Those Senate races are going to be where the interesting stuff happens. I think, Georgia, right when we were coming on, you were talking about Georgia. There's 2 Senate races there, and I don't think a lot of people actually recognize, and that's why there's going to be a lot of emphasis on the GOTV in Georgia, which means you're going to have the opportunity to do a whole lot of good there in Georgia with up and down the ballots at the presidential level, making the Senate, 2 Senate seats, potentially, one of them of color with a diverse background, and Lucy McBath down there in Atlanta, bringing more women and women of color to Congress. So y'all definitely keep it up there in Georgia, and we're happy to come back anytime.
I want to have you come back because I want you all to help us teach the world to sing. If you guys can coexist, we can sing together, we can coexist together.
But they did it before 2016. They got in when you could do that. It's not even a thing anymore.
We can get back there.
It's a lot like the Highlander. You see one from the other side of the room, you got to pull out swords. One must die.
All right.
It's the thing.
All right. We got
Thank
one
you all
more
so
guest
much
we got
for
to
coming.
bring
It
in.
was fantastic.
Hey,
Yeah,
thanks,
thank you. We
guys.
got one more guest. Thank you all.
Thank
So
you
we've got
much.
one more guest that's waiting for us. We're gonna bring Sabria in when Betty lets her in. But you guys, what do you guys think about that conversation? I mean, this was it was really great to be able to have that Republican Democrat
I love
viewpoint. What were your thoughts?
It was refreshing. It was really
I
refreshing.
love it. I mean, you know, the thing about this town is that the people who work behind the scenes get along very well and they have chemistry, but they're also swapping intel and ideas about what's happening, but they're also modulating before the offices they have to deal with. And that's the great thing about it. That's how you really get things done. And that's one of the downfalls I always felt like is when Obama said he wasn't going to hire lobbyists, was that you really kind of miss a big part of getting things done and the relationships that can come with resolving a lot of issues that's plaguing us right now.
So real quick, before we bring Sabria, and we're gonna show to our audience, we're gonna show a quick video. It's like a minute, but it's something from Party Politics with our 2020 Effing Matters campaign. But it's a tee up to the conversation we're gonna have in terms of we need to have we don't have an African American woman on the Supreme Court, but this video we hope will just kind of spark some things in your minds about why it is going to be so freaking important to vote before November 3rd, 2020. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Betty and let her run our video.
Into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.
Of the direction of our education, of our social system, of people, how we have to be better and work together.
Regardless religion, color, or gender, without violence against women and kids.
We only help each other. The more love in this world, the better of a place it becomes for all of us.
You don't have to give up. You don't have to lose hope. We are all in this together.
We're going to show the second one before we finish the show, but thank you so much, Betty, for doing that. Sabria, how are you?
I am awesome. It's great to see you, Atiba, and everyone on the forum. It's awesome to see you all. This is amazing. Your platform, it's amazing.
Thank you. And the thing, what you're working on, could you do me a favor? Because I haven't really even had a chance to talk to my co-host about this, but tell us about your organization, the work you all are doing, and then your efforts. And then I know you all are doing an event we want to make sure that our audience knows about. But please, this effort to get an African-American woman on the Supreme Court is long overdue.
Now, priority number 2 after we have the first VP, right? So
right.
She Will Rise is the campaign, Demand Justice. It's a Demand Justice initiative. Demand Justice is a movement that is it wants to restore balance and legitimacy to the courts by advocating for reform. And so Demand Justice touted Kim Tignor, who's the executive director of the Institute for Intellectual Property and Social Justice, and she's an advisor to Demand Justice, and came up with this idea of She Will Rise so that we can push this forward. Kim said, hey, I know some people that might be interested. I'm honored to be among these women. We have April Rain, who is CEO of Rainstorm Ventures, who touted in 2015, made famous the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite. We have Brandy Krolander, who is with the Raven Group, and Tamara Brunner, who is with Senior Advisor and Director of National Outreach and Engagement at Demand Justice. And so this is the cohort. And basically it's time, right? Not only is it time, we deserve this. Black women have been the backbone of not just, the Democratic Party, but democracy. We have not had a seat at the table. We've been serving the table. And now we are running, not to just sit at the table, but to own the house that the table is in. And we saw the swell of support around having the nominee, the Democratic VP nominee be an African-American woman, and that we're not going to take no for an answer. That was the demand. And so with that same swell, that same energy, we want to have that. That's what we're doing. We're doing our social media outreach. We are tapping into our resources, our groups, and having events. And so one of our events is the first event is a virtual dance party that will be held on the 15th with DJ Domo. She's dope.
Sorry, shameless plug, Party Before Politics.
Right, I know where I am. I know my audience. And so she's from the DMV. She's gonna have an amazing Black Girl Magic playlist. And then on September 21st, that is our launch event, where we're going to have a fireside chat with Nicole Hannah-Jones, who everybody knows, is the dopest of the dope right now. I feel like I'm aging myself saying dope, but anyway, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist and creator of the 1619 Project, which is amazing, and Donna Hilton, who is author and activist and a survivor of the criminal justice system. And so that's the 21st. And if you go to our website, which is sisterscotus.org, follow us on Twitter at Sister SCOTUS and Instagram at Sister SCOTUS, you will be able to be a part of all of this magic. And once you go to our website, we would love for you to join our collective and sign the petition and let everybody know this is real. This is our next big demand, because as we know, the Supreme Court is the long game.
Can you tell everybody where they can go so they can sign that? We're going to give everyone a call to action.
sisterscotus.org, SISTASCOTUS.org. That's where
so, and I know Earl and Patrick want to get in, but I'm going to give Jay Smiles and Nayada first dibs.
Okay, go ahead.
So since they didn't say anything, I just
my mic sounds nice. Check one.
Right. My mic was down. I was over here sipping on some coffee, and I didn't want it to slurp. But first of all, Sister SCOTUS is a hot name. I hope there's gear. I would like the baby tee, the tank, the tumbler, the hoodie, everything, sunglasses. Okay, if there's a popping lip, I want all of that. Okay, thank you so much for putting that on our radar and making it be a movement. I would like to know how it is you think we can really have the movement outside of our culture. Like, how do we make the language or the conversation be palatable to non-brown women?
Do we need to? I feel like Kamala is very good at being who she is and being relatable across the board.
No, I'm talking about for Sister SCOTUS. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying. For Sister SCOTUS, I feel like we can take a page from that book.
Thank you.
We don't need to, be different than who we are. I feel like we should be accepted for who we are, for our beauty. And so the message that we're getting, it's super easy. We're not saying anything that is, in a foreign language. We're saying we would like the first Black woman SCOTUS because we deserve it, because we're qualified, because
right now.
we have all of the things, all of that Black girl magic is real. And I feel we don't need to, make it easier. I feel like it's easy enough. And we've done, I don't want to say dumb down, but we definitely bow down in a way as women in any way. I don't want to take that away from us. I want our voices to be buoyant and loud and boisterous and heard and accepted just the way we're saying it.
And have you all clearly identified judges or lawyers who you think could be candidates we could get behind?
So that is not our call. We are a nonpartisan campaign.
Okay.
Knowing that we may have a more lending ear on one side than we would the other. Our job isn't to, we want to make clear that our job isn't to pick. It is just to say that this is a need and that there are people out there. Now, will we have people that we'll put before you that are in places that we may be able to? Sure, but we're not saying yes or no either way. Maybe Fani coming up could, I saw her earlier and she's amazing. So we got people we have a wealth. There's no the riches are there for us.
Absolutely, of course. And just to let you know, one of my mentors, I'm a lawyer as well. One of my mentors has a huge foundation of Black judges, and we can talk offline or we can speak with Nayada. And she started, it's called the Just Us Foundation, and kind of everybody who's ever been a Black judge is a part, no matter their partisan affiliation. And that could at least be something that I would like to connect with you to just say, hey, they're out there too, to maybe start pitching this to have names attached.
Yeah, they are on our radar. And so absolutely, if we can connect it later, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the work. Thank you for the work.
Nayada?
Yeah, I just want to say, well, first of all, I think what you guys are doing is amazing and necessary. And I'm sad that we're in 2020 and this is now a thing. Like it took us until 2020 to even create this sort of a platform to make this a viable thing. But I'm so grateful that you guys are doing it. I had not heard about you. I'm so eager to get on SCOTUS, sisterscotus.org, and look you guys up and get some good information from you. And I'll say, when you mentioned Fani's name, I got chills. I was like, oh my God, it can happen. It can really happen. So yeah, it's amazing. And I definitely do want to look at people now in terms of having a Black SCOTUS. I'm like, can we just some more?
Patrick Earl. I'm sorry. I gotta keep this going. Patrick Earl.
I mean, I think
Patrick.
One of the biggest things is we kind of, we're talking about this. I lost a dear friend a couple of years ago. Her name was Cassandra Butts, and she was the person who helped get Kagan and Sotomayor on the Supreme Court cleared through the Senate process. And so along with all of these kind of things we're talking about, there's so many qualified African-American women jurists who are out there and who are ready to go, but the process will be grueling. So whoever the candidate becomes, we're going to have to keep that family lifted up in prayer, because they're going to look for every little thing to try to do it. So that's another reason why the Senate is so relevant right now for Democrats, because if they reclaim the Senate, they will bust the filibuster in order to get somebody on the Supreme Court, and most likely will be an African-American woman. So that's why the elections down ballot are just as important as what's at the top of the ballot.
That's right. Earl?
To get a sister on the Supreme Court.
No, I had nothing to add. No, I'm vibing off of everything I'm getting right now.
All right. Well, Sabria, thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you have anything, you all want to, I know you all had the event and we're going to be taking off the next 2 weeks. So we wanted to make sure we got you all on tonight. So thank you so much for coming in, coming on. And we will also, if you send whatever information you send, we are happy to post that on the Chalkboard Conversations podcast page and share it on our social media.
Sending everything your way all the time. You will be inundated. And thank you all so much, Jay Smiles. Thank you all. This is a great platform, and I will be in touch with all of y'all because we're going to need it. Like you said, we're going to be needing prayer and support to get this.
And we're going to throw this one back to you because we're going to be talking about this for a few minutes right now. Is that we've got to figure out some ways that we're going to put the party before politics at these election sites around the country. And make sure that people, one, stay safe, two, that they're having a good time, that they recognize that voting is fun, that it is part of being a democracy, and that together what we will be doing is protecting the integrity of this democracy. So Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. Sorry, I wanted to cut that off because I want us to have a few minutes to just to wrap a little bit. Well, you all starts tonight. We've had Fani. That was a fantastic conversation. And then we had Christina and Mark, and I thought that was a great conversation. And then we had Sabria. What do you guys' thoughts? And, there's a lot of stuff that's going on out here. What are you all thinking? What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
Well, I'm really glad that we're bringing all of this to the forefront for people. I mean, it's a lot of this stuff I didn't know about. So if I don't know, I mean, I consider myself to be a little in the know, but you know, I think it's important for us to bring it to people because people don't necessarily like to do a lot of research, and if we can bring it to them and make it palatable, make it fun, make it engaging, and make them interested, then they will go and do more research. So I think we had some very, very dynamic guests this evening.
Earl?
I
say you, Earl, because you had that look on your face.
The Earl look.
Okay, so two things. One, I love all the guests today, so this was just perfect. It was just handled perfectly. I also missed everybody last week, so I also have to say that.
I missed you. I really did.
But now I'm older though, so you know.
I mean, well.
I know, right? I appreciate that. No, all of it was just great. I love the show. Love Marcus and Christina, especially just getting into that dichotomy and actually getting that frequency where the way we talk about politics, we can't use the same talking points to the opposite side because it wouldn't work. And they get that. But what I'd like to do the next time we get a chance to talk to them is talk to them more about how I feel like the political parties are being pushed by media companies. They need to be visible. Media companies are going to set the tone from what they want to see. And so now you have this really weird situation where you have a Republican who probably would be moderate, but because he still needs to make sure he gets his airtime by the end of the week, he's got to sound like a fire-breathing dragon, and now he can't. And so now that skews a group of people. Meanwhile, and I didn't want to say this while Mark was on the line, but if Fox News has enough liquid money, if they wanted to end abortion tomorrow, they could flood Capitol Hill with all their liquid money. They don't, because they want the issue. They don't want it solved. They want the issue. And so if you want to be able to complain that this other guy is trying to make your life miserable, and they're trying to continue to raise money from people who are sensitive about that issue, I need the issue. And so the next time we get a chance to talk to people who are literally working this space, and Patrick, you know it, and Tiba, you know it, I've worked on the Hill, like that sense of we get paid, well, to help people get a message out. But if I can only get the message heard if it's bleeding, then I have to take your point of view and explode it hyperbolically to make it sound. I'm preaching a whole other.
Anybody got a dictionary? Hyperbolically.
Listen,
hyperbolic.
Look, Earl took the week off and came back with a PhD in words, didn't he?
He read that dictionary.com added 600 words to the dictionary.
I think he took a speech class too, because he talked really slow and made sure you heard every word.
Enunciated.
What do you think? What are your thoughts tonight?
Think about Avery Brooks on.
He's relaxed.
Well, okay.
Oh, okay. That's probably accurate. That's probably accurate.
Jay, what were your thoughts tonight?
I thought it was fantastic. What I very much appreciated about tonight's show was the variety in the guest. I must say that since I've become a permanent co-host, okay, I'm gonna keep throwing that around.
We keep laughing about the permanent part. You're just a co-host.
Huh? Yeah, I like
laughing about the permanent part. We know you're permanent. That's why
I know, but I like saying it because there was a couple times when I wasn't. I mean, I'm still excited about it. I'm sorry, don't take away my shine. I'm excited about it. So, but anyway, I appreciated the variety. Like I in that we had a newly, elected official, all deep in the criminal justice thing with a total a penchant. Okay. All right. I threw out a word for you, Earl, for criminal justice on both sides.
Right.
And then we have people dedicated to the Republican and the Democratic Party from Capitol Hill's perspective. So they've never been elected officials, but they've been involved with policy in pushing the politics of both parties. That's huge. And then you got somebody over here trying to get an African-American woman to become a United States Supreme Court justice. So while those are all very much involved with today's hot topics in politics and policy, they are very different. Like they didn't bleed over into each other. So that to me was very exciting. I enjoyed
Betty, Patrick, I'm gonna come back to you. But Betty, do you want? I want you to get ready in case you want to come on and say a few words. So everyone out there, Betty, and John are behind the scenes. They do the engine, and John do the engineering for this show. Just so you all know, like there is so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
My hat, and I'm coming on.
With meetings and with getting our guests, with talking, with the graphics, and then also with the post-production stuff. So we encourage you all to check us out on a lot of our past shows are on YouTube. But Betty, what were your thoughts tonight on the show?
I thought it was phenomenal again. I really like the variety again. I think having Republicans come on and get slaughtered by y'all is great. That's always, I'm not gonna sugarcoat my words because that's basically
why start now?
Why start now? And I think ever since, having, a different variety of, audience or guests on, the conversations have been awesome because you guys take it there and you're not really afraid to ask those hard questions. And I wish we had them longer, longer to just, kind of probe into those issues. So we're not so, tiptoeing over feelings or whatever, because they need to speak for it. And the things that we're against or, you have questions about, I think bringing that has become like the highlight of the show for me. So I love it.
Awesome. Patrick, I wanted to say the best for last, brother, because I know you got a lot to say. So take it away.
I think this show kind of demonstrated the relevance of government in everybody's life from three different lenses. I think the local side with Fani talking about she has the discretion to prosecute, to promote, and to kind of help people get their lives, reclaim the power of their lives. I think on the federal side, we had a great example of just overall talking about the nuances of the lack of bipartisanship and why things are not getting done in Washington based upon Mark and his partner. And I think what the end is like the relevance of why we should be voting, and the relevance if you want to see an African-American woman on the Supreme Court, then you're going to have to vote down ticket. In places like, we learned a little bit earlier, like Georgia has 2 seats up. Reverend Warnock kind of rocked John Lewis's funeral. And I hate to tell you this, that brother will be so eloquent in the Senate representing Georgia. His presence, his command, he's an HBCU grad. He brings all these elements there that are possible, and Georgia could become purple for purposes of having a Democratic senator represent that state. I think the other thing too, at the end of the day, we cannot be turned off by the polls. We have to stay encouraged. We have to encourage people around us, because the narrative that they're trying to establish is like if this was a spades game, you saw them adding 3 extra jokers to the deck, and they're going to try to claim victory regardless of the outcome. And we have to stay the course. We want to throw rocks, we want to throw punches, but the moment that we connect or hit them is the moment that there's unfairness, like we're seeing in Kenosha. Other cities around the country is that they can go protect a property they don't own, but we can't walk past a property on the way to the mayor's house, like in St. Louis, without guns being drawn on us. So the parity and the sense of justice that we are seeking and craving, quote unquote, as Democrats are not things that we're seeking based upon party. If I walk past your house, you shouldn't be able to put a gun on me. If I decide to walk to a gas station in my neighborhood, I should not be deterred from that, from men who don't even live in that community. And we've got to do something about unraveling the mystery of why Black folks have to be contained in their neighborhood and white folks are able to move about the city freely. And we have to begin to reestablish a narrative. The only way we're going to be able to do that is with people like Fani Willis. I want to say to you, you know what? Right is right, wrong is wrong. Let's get back to what a true working definition of what justice and fairness is in America. And that's why those local elections down ballot are the most important things.
Betty, I'm just going to kind of tee you up and for us to get ready for this that last video. But this to me was a great show, and it was all of our shows. They continue to get really better and better, and in terms of just we hope that our audience, we hope that you all are appreciating and that you're learning. We want to have fun doing this, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're doing this also with purpose. I know I learned, I didn't realize that there was those contested seats going on in Georgia. And so those are things that we really need to be paying attention to. Patrick, you just hit it on a nail. We really have to be paying attention to these down ballot races. And I'm just going to say this. We cannot continue to just think that marching and protesting and yelling and demanding is going to get it done. We have to like figure out how we're strategically putting our energy to grab the power. And I'm not saying to get the power to vote. I'm talking about grab it and take it. And then once you have it, you've got to figure out how to hold on to it. And so, you know, being a part of the democracy is not easy. Voting and getting your candidates elected is not easy, but it is definitely doable, and we can do a whole lot more if we figure that part out. I do want to say, Derek said cops don't need more training. They know how to not to shoot white people. They can use that same training to not shoot black people, and I agree with him. 100%.
Is that our guy Derek that always comes on? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that was Derek.
You know
Yeah,
what?
so
We gotta have him come on to have that conversation because I feel like I want him to explain that one a little bit more. But I want him to be on the air. I don't want to talk about it when he can't answer for himself.
And on behalf of everybody but Patrick, and also known as Black Wilson, that whole little thing that said I say the best for last. I mean, no sir.
Yes,
To Mr.
ma'am, thank
Atiba.
you. I'm so sorry, Jay.
Look, Jay Smiles on behalf of everybody else.
I had to throw him a bone though because I made him wait while all of the other ones, everybody else spoke. So.
That's
he
right.
Gets his time. He gets his time. Don't worry about him. He gets his time.
I mean, Kay, honestly, he was listening to a slow jam tape from Virginia State from that freshman year. So that's,
hey, speak
y'all
of which,
how you want
He good. He good.
Speaking of which, let's all like really like take notice. Historically Black colleges, this is a big year. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I'd be also. I'm gonna just say this. I'm gonna say remiss, and I know that later this month I'm getting my test. To the gentlemen out there, get your prostate exam, get your colonoscopies. You know, it was a huge loss this week with Chadwick Boseman. You know, it's good for us to like laugh and joke and have fun and et cetera, but we've got to be taking care of ourselves because 43, man, that, you know, that's just hard. And when we come back, you know, we're gonna take a break for 2 weeks because we got a lot of work and we got a lot of stuff that we want to bring you all that's going to make the show even better. But I do want to take this time just to say, you know, our condolences and prayers to the family of Chadwick Boseman. He was just a class act. And just seeing the outpouring of love. And I know the statement that Michael B. Jordan put out for me was incredibly touching. And, you know, we got to take care of ourselves, take care of each other. We were like in the midst of this pandemic. We are seeing police officers. We just saw it this evening. 18-year-old in Southeast Washington was shot in the back by a police officer. No one can tell me that Black Lives Matter at a plaza when we have a white police officer, and I'm going to just say this and go on record. We have a white police officer that is overseeing a police department right here in Washington, D.C. that has some fucking white supremacists on it. And I'm saying it. I want to go on record because it needs to be said and we need to be shouting it out. And this MF needs to be fired.
Can we say motherfucker the second time? Like,
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm just saying, you know,
you just did, Earl.
Okay. All right. I want the full curse on record too.
I'm also.
But Mr. and Mrs. Majuna are watching.
Yeah, they're watching, but you know, but the other side of it is that this is scary. This is scary for me having nephews. This is scary for me knowing that they're. I mean, you know, every time like this is just there's no reason this man should still be overseeing this police department. This is just real talk. There's no reason that this man should still be overseeing the police department. When I'm seeing all the tats that are on these white police officers, when I'm walking past them and I speak and they don't speak back, they don't give a damn about us. So why should we give a damn about them?
At point
You can go ahead and play that.
I have
Go
my
ahead, please.
I have my colonoscopy on Friday, the 4th, and I'll comes of it. And I think we should probably do a men's health segment for the show too.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Patrick.
To ease some of the barriers associated with men's health as we get better as well as older.
Because Chadwick passed at 43, but they actually found it when he was 39.
39. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
that's real. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
very real. With that, Betty, I'm gonna let you take this one away. We'll come back real quick, and then we'll have our quick closing. Go ahead, Betty.
I want to say,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Rest in peace to John Thompson's family. I mean, rest in peace to John Thompson.
Yes.
Condolences to his family as well. He was a true living form superhero. I just very serious, but I saw a meme, which is the joke part. It saw a meme that said, "When I realized Georgetown wasn't an HBCU, he brought the blackness to Georgetown, and
it's true.
And it's amazing." So, okay, I'm sorry, Betty.
Agreed.
No,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you for that.
No,
Mike.
and I'm glad you. Thank you. I'm glad you said that because, I mean, John Thompson was speaking up against social injustice, but in athletics before it became popular, and I'll never forget him walking off the court to protest Proposition 48, which was directly going to impact African American athletes. From being able to get scholarships and go to some of these Division I schools. And so I think that when we come back in a couple of weeks, there's some other show topics that we want to have some athletes on, just to talk about some of the stuff, because one of the things that when I started Party Politics that I want to say that it was really important, and in talking to like an actor like Bob Wisdom, who played Bunny on The Wire, there's politics in Hollywood too. There's politics in everything that we do, whether or not we like politics or not. There's politics in all of it. So, and if we don't talk about it, then we don't realize what it is that's there. The same way that we're not talking across the aisle to other people who are Republicans, just because we draw this line in the sand. Where do we go? Now, personally, I will tell you, I still got a line in the sand if you're voting for The Apprentice, but that's a whole nother conversation. Betty, are we ready?
Of the direction of our education, of our social system, of a people, how we have to be better and work together.
Regardless religion, color, or gender, without violence against women and kids.
We only help each other. The more love in this world, the better of a place it becomes for all of us.
You don't have to give up. You don't have to lose hope. We are all in it together.
I want to highlight that I want to highlight that Dion, who was the last one in the video speaking, that she's recovered from COVID. She had COVID a couple of months ago, and my issue right now with this apprentice who called himself president is the fact that if I was a Democrat, I would just say it over and over again. Almost 200,000 people have died from a virus that could have been slowed. I know. This is just real, and so if we can't keep waiting for somebody else to tell a narrative that we can tell ourselves. So with that all said, I don't know if you guys have any last parting words.
I just want to bring people to let people know to make a video. Tell us why voting matters. Tag 2020 fucking matters. Tag Party Politics. Upload your video, and we want to show videos here, and we want to share them on Chalkboard Conversations podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And visit www.2020fuckingmatters.com. And, you know, get some gear. The support of so many people out there who have bought our merchandise made it possible for us to do these videos. And we've got a whole lot more stuff that's coming. We've just got to, if we can figure out how we can, you know, almost kind of like that picture of locking arms, walking across the Selma, Edmund Pettus and the Edmund Pettus Bridge. We've got a lot of work to do. And this is the generation where we can actually redeem the dream of and be the real hope and the realization of the slave here in America that, you know, gave their lives so that we can be. So I just want us to be really thinking about the fact that this is not going to be an easy road, but it is going to be an achievable goal if we work together. All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining Chalkboard Conversations podcast presented by Party Politics on Spikefish Radio. I want to thank my co-hosts Nayada, Patrick, parenthesis seldom seen, Jay Smiles, Earl, and Betty and John. Thank you all so much. We look forward to seeing you all again. We're going to take a 2-week hiatus, and we will be coming back, I believe it's September the 23rd. So we'll be posting some of our older shows that we have that have gone through post-production, but we're gonna take a little break, catch our breath, and come back, because when we come back, it's the home stretch. We'll have about 40 days left before the election, so we're gonna come back with a lot of gusto and a lot of energy and a lot of hope. So with that, thank you very much.
Welcome to the Party Politics Chalkboard Conversations after party.
I'll be making the MCs and the sucker niggas. Come on. Like they hard when we put they damn hard. What's your figure? Round wise, I do the figure 8 so precisely. Musically.